So let me introduce to you three things that we know can reduce stress immediately. The first thing and really important thing is validation. All of your students want validation. They want to be validated that what they're dealing with is real and it definitely warrants a situation. All right, they really want that. My fish died. They're calling me names. The teacher hates me. I can't deal with this. No one will ever understand. Now, you're not going to say something like, hey, maybe your teacher does hate you. I mean, you wouldn't do that in validation, but you might be able to say something like, ooh, you really feel that way, don't you? You don't want to say, hey, your fish died, flush it and get another one. You really want to say, oh, that really feels sad, that you really feel sad about that fish. They just want that validation. What we learn is that when we validate what seems like a crisis for someone, even though we don't see it as something really big, it immediately kind of soothes the system. It knocks down that nervous system a little bit so that we now can open up an opportunity to actually listen to you. So if I try to de-escalate or teach you some skills or tell you to use a strategy before I validate that your problem is a problem, I'm going to have a harder time getting in there, all right? The second thing is listening, really truly listening. And this is hard. This is one of the hardest things that I had to learn, listening. Because when students feel listened to, they often calm down quickly. The 2 minutes that you take now can save you hours later, is what I always say. And I found that was a really hard one for me because I had so many ideas in my head that I wanted to share with the kids or with the individual, that I had ideas for them, and I said, I know what to do. Oh, I want to jump in. You ever had that happen? It's really hard. It's hard sometimes just to hold on to your thoughts and listen, and real kind of active listening. So when you do that, what helps me is to first think about their perception. Like, okay, wait a second, what are they perceiving? Am I perceiving it the same way they are? Using very few words, just maybe validating and listening and going, yeah. Or even just moving in a little bit, all right, as long as they're not too escalated. I always say take a leg's length away, all right? Legs are longer than arms. You got to understand that being listened to allows a chance to hear yourself. And I think that's super important. So when we've learned de-escalation techniques throughout our careers, one of the things that really stuck with me is that when you listen to someone, basically they're able to hear themselves talk. And as we know, we all kind of talk to ourselves in the car, and we go, maybe in the bathroom, close the door and talk ourselves through something. Because when we listen to ourselves, when we can hear ourselves, we sometimes can actually solve our own problems or de-escalate ourselves. But if you're just that person listening, they're actually hearing themselves too. And again, like I said earlier, don't be quick to jump in there and solve the problem. That's something we want to do all the time. We want to jump in there and solve the problem. We've got to give it some time, all right? You've got to give it some time. And the third thing is trust. Trust is a tough one. People say, once you lose trust, you can't get it back. Well, I don't agree with that. I think students who escalate often have really not experienced that consistent trusted adult listening to them. They kind of go all over the place, like I don't have that consistent person. These are children who often will sabotage a relationship before you can even establish it. Because remember, if that's what they're used to, then their sole job is to come in there and make sure they kick you out before you kick them out. And that's just a protective mechanism. And if that's what's happened in their lives, they're not going to be very willing to have an adult come in there and help them with a problem. They've experienced loss, unmet needs, repeated failures that they weren't able to learn from because they had all of this loss. And so they go back to that Maslow's hierarchy, down on the bottom ladders, and they're just trying to take care of themselves. So we've got to know what that trust level might be for kids.